Hello and welcome back. Today we're going to talk about connecting ideas in college writing. Now, there are words that you can use that can help you connect your ideas more clearly in your college essays. They show how one idea relates to another, for example, by showing contrast, giving a reason, or showing a result. These words can help your writing sound more organized and easier for the reader to follow. So today we're going to look at 5 words you can use to connect ideas in your college essays. These words are however, although, therefore, whereas, and since. These words help you connect your ideas logically and makes your writing clearer, stronger, and more professional. First, we're going to start with although. I want you to take a look at these 2 sentences. The first one says the study had a small sample size and the results were statistically significant. Now there's a way to combine these 2 ideas into one single sentence so that your writing doesn't seem so choppy. Let's take a look. For example, in this case we can use although to connect these 2 ideas, and this sentence will look like this. Although the study had a small sample size, the results were statistically significant. We use although to introduce a contrast between 2 ideas, specifically when the second one is unexpected given the first one. So in this case, with a small sample, we would not expect significant results. So the second part goes against what we would normally predict given the first one. The second part is surprising after the first one. Okay, let's continue. Now our next word is however. So let's take a look at these 2 sentences. The results were promising. Further research is needed. We're going to use however to combine these 2 sentences because however shows a contrast after the first sentence. So it's going to look like this. The results were promising. However, further research is needed. So this means the results were good, but more study is still necessary. So you read this first part, the results were promising, and you might think, okay, great. The study was successful. They don't need to keep doing research. But what the writer is really saying here is the results were encouraging, the findings were useful, but there are still limitations, right? The study does not completely answer all the questions. This is very common in academic writing because researchers may want to be cautious about making strong conclusions. Even if the findings are accurate, they may still wish to point out limitations or areas for further research. Now, one note about punctuation. You can use a period or a semicolon before however to connect 2 independent sentences. With a period, you start a new sentence. And you use however with a capital H. With a semicolon, you keep both ideas in the same sentence and then write however with a lowercase h. In both cases, you need to include a comma after however. And now we're moving on to our third word, which is therefore. Let's take a look at these 2 sentences. The evidence is limited. No definitive conclusion can be made. So we're going to use therefore to combine these 2 sentences because therefore shows a result or a consequence of the first sentence. So it's going to look like this. The evidence is limited. Therefore, no definitive conclusion can be made. Therefore means as a result. In this case, the second sentence is exactly what you would expect. It's a direct consequence of the first one. It's a logical outcome. The 2 parts do not contradict each other. The writer is saying that the limitation directly leads to the result in the second sentence. The evidence is limited. So it is reasonable to say that no definitive conclusion can be made. In terms of punctuation, It works the same way as with however. You can either use a period or a semicolon before therefore, and then you add the comma after therefore. With the period, you write therefore with a capital T, and with the semicolon, you write therefore with a lowercase t. Our fourth word is whereas, and here are our sentences. The first test measured reading speed. The second measured reading comprehension. We're going to use whereas to put these two sentences into one because we are comparing two ideas and we are highlighting an important difference between them. So the final sentence is going to look like this. The first test measured reading speed, whereas the second measured reading comprehension. In this case, the writer is pointing out that the study used two different types of tests to compare two different types of reading skills. One that focuses on how fast someone reads, and another one that focuses on how well they understand what they read. In terms of punctuation, here we're going to include a comma before whereas and keep both ideas in the same sentence. All right, so now we're going to move on to our final word, which is since. Let's take a look at our final two sentences. Air pollution increased in major cities. Governments have introduced strict regulations to improve public health. And we're going to use since to connect these ideas because it shows a reason or cause. And we're going to use since at the beginning. Since air pollution increased in major cities, governments have introduced strict regulations to improve public health. Since means because, and it introduces the reason, air pollution increased, and connects it directly to the result, which is the action the government took. The second part is a direct consequence of the first. Air pollution got worse, and so governments did something about it. They implemented rules to protect people's health. All right, and there we have it. There we have our 5 words. Although, however, therefore, whereas, and since. And now we're going to do some practice. I'm going to give you 5 sentences for you to complete with one of these words. Let's take a look. Now feel free to pause the video. Please take your time to read the sentences carefully. Write down the answers in your notebook and continue when you're ready. All right, so now let's go ahead and reveal the correct answers. Number 1. The data was incomplete. Therefore, the researchers could not make a final conclusion. This shows result or consequence. Number 2. Since the population has grown rapidly, the city needs additional housing. This shows a reason or cause. Number 3. The first article discusses education, whereas the second discusses healthcare. This shows contrast between two related topics. Number 4. Although the evidence is limited, the findings are useful. This shows contrast between limitation and positive result. And finally, number 5. The study included only 20 participants. However, the results were useful. This shows a contrast between a limitation and an unexpected positive outcome. In academic writing, ideas must connect logically. Words like although, however, therefore, whereas, and since help your reader follow your argument and help you connect your ideas more clearly. Well, that's it for this video. I hope this information was helpful and that you will use some of these words in your next essay. Thank you for joining me. I'll see you next time.